Hi, my name is Audra Rocco, and I'm an intern here at Sports Philanthropy Network. Thank you for joining us today for the film and video panel. I'm now going to hand it over to our moderator, Howard Brown, to begin.
Thanks, Audra. I hope everyone's having a really amazing day at Sports Philanthropy World. Such great sessions, great knowledge passed for, great networking. LinkedIn's your buddy. We have a real treat for you this afternoon. We've got some great industry experts. We're going to talk about something fun, film and video, because film and video tells stories, and storytelling is part of the mission when it comes to sports and philanthropy, nonprofits, and telling your own story. And so I think that we're in for a real treat today. We're going to do ladies first, and Alyssa, please introduce yourself, what you're doing now, and how you got there.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Alyssa Marino. Currently, I work for USA Today. I manage our digital content for our positive news brand about sports called Sportskind. I got here by way of just doing the local TV news route for about 10 years. And then I transitioned to the digital world, and we focus primarily on just the good in the world and the amazing things that athletes and coaches and fans do on and off the field. And so I'm really excited to be here to talk more about digital and video and all those good things.
Awesome. Norris, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Norris Thomas, and I am in Chandler, Arizona, graduated University of Wisconsin lacrosse. So upon my retirement from professional football, I had to try out with the Giants and played in Canada for a couple of years. My first job was the Eagle Eye at WKBT Channel 8 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Today, I've since then taught television and film at the high school level. I've worked for Max Preps as an MMJ. Now currently I'm MMJ and also a former host of Arizona Prep Spotlight at Arizona Fox Sports Arizona out here in Phoenix.
Most excellent. Neill, Michael?
Hi, my name is Michael Neill, and I first want to thank Sports Philanthropy Network and everyone who's putting on this amazing conference. Just grateful to be here with this awesome panel, Audra administering it, and Howard, you leading us through this conversation. It's truly been an amazing couple days with having sports showing how it can change the world for the better. I've been involved with my own consulting practice for the past number of years, and prior to that worked on the marketing strategy, storytelling, digital side, from the Fortune 500 down to startups. And my calling truly is that everyone's amplified, then elevated to bring more light into the world. And I do that for my clients by helping them tell their stories more effectively and then convey them to achieve whatever objective they want, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a startup, whether it's a manufacturer. And the medium of film and video, no matter where you're watching it, is even more important than ever before. And I look forward to having a meaningful conversation with everybody today. So thank you, Howard.
Excellent. Rafer, take yourself off mute. Thanks.
Yeah, Michael, I think you and I have a lot to talk about. I'm Rafer Weigel. I like to say I'm a recovering journalist. I was a news anchor in Chicago for a number of years. And unlike Alyssa's outfit, where they're focusing on feel-good stories, all I was reporting on was dead bodies under sheets. And there's no shortage of that in Chicago. So I saw it as an entirely negative landscape. If you want to go to the most depressing place on earth, go to a newsroom. But at the same time, the power of video, as Michael said, it's never been, it's at the pinnacle right now, and it's only going to keep going up. So I formed my own company, the Weigel Media Group. We are storytellers. We tell people stories to raise revenue, to raise awareness. We do it independently of traditional media because I think that's a better way to control your narrative. So Michael, it sounds like you and I have a lot in common. I did cover sports also as well for ABC7 in Chicago, anchor reporter. But, I also found it to be very formulaic. My father was an iconic sportscaster in Chicago, and during his day in the 90s and 80s, you could actually get really creative. And I found that everybody was getting the same sound bites. So I went out of sports and into news, and now I'm doing what Michael does. We work with nonprofits, and storytelling through video is the best way to get a return on your investment. And I'm sure we'll touch on that as well.
Absolutely. I was in our green room discussion. I was saying that I'm an old dog at Avid Technology back in the mid 90s when analog to digital was just in its infancy, and now it's all digital. And it's truly, as we were saying, you can do some real class editing on an iPhone. And so let's start there. If we were to give advice to someone, let's start on the career track first. You want to get into the business. Let's start with you, Alyssa. What advice do you give to people that would like to actually get back in the production trucks and get on that side of the business of producing film and video?
I can only speak from my personal experience, but I learned the most at my internships. I interned at TV stations and a newspaper, and I mean, that's how you get real life experience of what it's like to be on the job. So if you're interested in, whether it doesn't have to be journalism, it can be any sort of video production, look to see if they need a little help. Be willing to work for free if you have to, just to get your hands dirty and get in the mix of things and get to know people and rub elbows with the people that you want to be someday. That would be my first piece of advice.
Excellent. Any Norris, you want to add on there?
Well, I mean, fortunately for me, when I got my internship, it was the summer before my senior year of college. And so, it's kind of just walk in and say, hey, what can I do? Can I sweep some floors and so on? But it worked out very well. You just have to make yourself available, I think. And like Liz said, maybe you're going to work, maybe you might have to work for free a bit. I think even if you're in school or on campus, just, the most important thing is just get involved. Get, AERO, I think, is the national broadcast fraternity. Get involved with that on your campus. And then for people that are on the outside, you can always knock on the door and give it a try and go from there.
Appreciate that. And so one of the things that, film and video, it's, you really, there's definitely a quality difference. Bad video gets deleted quickly. And so, I think that, one of the things that Rafer and Michael, you can drive in that, doing a quick, cheap, bad job is not worth it. Really, you want to put your best foot forward and shine. So I think that that's a really important quality. So I'm sure Michael and Rafer, when you're advising your clients, on a budget, there's still ways to be able to do that with excellence. Am I right?
I would like to say it doesn't have to be perfect. Depending upon the organization, doesn't have to be the highest quality. It doesn't have to be pristine. It doesn't need to be perfect audio, perfect video, perfect lighting. My lighting isn't even good right now. I'm a little bit embarrassed about that. You're
not wearing a sport coat. Why didn't you get the email? We were supposed to wear sport coats.
I've got my tuxedo pants on right now, but I'm not going to stand up and show you guys, but that's all right. The most important thing I believe for me, and it also depends upon the message you want to get through, is what is your objective? Who is your audience? And how do you want them to react to that video? And if the audience is a bunch of people who expect perfection, then to your point, Howard, maybe it has to be perfect. But if the audience for a small nonprofit sports league that's just trying to get more people to come out and raise a few $1,000s to pay for umpires or referees or some equipment to line the fields, you just need to get that message out, and sometimes quickly. And it can be done on anything. We were talking about it in the green room. Do it on your iPhone. Do it on your Android. Get the message out there, see how people will react to it. And then you can test and learn from what you're doing. And that's what I believe one of the beauties of marketing is. And this medium is just one aspect of it.
And just to dovetail off of that, Michael, to his point, video is a tool, but it's not a strategy. And 5 years ago, everybody was spending 25 grand for these super slick polished videos and wondering why they weren't making any money, because nobody cared. It looks super slick. It looks super polished. Well, why am I not getting a return on the investment? Because it's what's in here and what's in here. And authenticity over polished is always going to win out when it comes to messaging on video. Now, granted, if it's super crappy and it just looks awful and the sound is bad, no, you're in trouble. But you know, for a couple $1,000s, you can get a professionally made video. But again, the key component that in differentiating video, in my opinion, is story. The story is what's most important. The video is there just to convey that story. What is in that heart of that story? Anybody can shoot a video, not everybody can tell a story. So that's really the differentiator. And you know, it works. I mean, I'm just going to give one, you know, anecdote, and I've worked with a lot of nonprofits because they have great stories, and that's where I want to work. I want to make a positive difference in the world. So that's the vertical that I'm targeting. They say, well, you know, it'll be $2,500 for 2 videos. Ah, that's a little high. I don't really know. I said, all right, how about this? How about you use this as a fundraising tool, and I will take 10% of what you get from using this as a fundraising tool. And that's it. You keep the rest. Okay, well, the last nonprofit we work with, we did 2 videos for $25,000. They raised $100,000 from those 2 videos, and they had to pay us $10,000. I'm like, you should have taken the first deal that I offered you at the $2,500, because this is going to work. And it's important, as we talk about the importance of video, to break through the noise. Everything's virtual right now. Everybody's online. You got to have your face on there. You got to have your voice on there. Even if it's obnoxious and annoying like mine, it's still got to be there. It's, you know, it's very, very important. I just wanted to add that.
I'd like to add one more thing about the perfect video point. Coming from a media organization, we build our entire brand on what's called UGC content, user-generated content, meaning people are sending us cell phone videos from the sidelines of these games. I can only probably name on one hand how many pieces of content we've put out that are professionally shot, and Sportskind and the entire Kind franchise that I work for, we get millions of views and engagements, and it's all about, like what Rafer said, we have a positive outlook. We only share the good stories, so nothing has to be perfect. We actually prefer to get cell phone video from people because, to your point, Rafer, it's all about the story and the message. It's not really about the perfect professional video.
No, I appreciate that. Rafer, you mentioned that, you know, listen, we're in a challenging time. People, you know, we were coming through this pandemic. We've kind of been locked down. We're going to bursting at the seams to come out of it here. I think we're slowly doing that. There'll be no fans or very minimal fans at the Olympics, but I believe the fall timeframe, we're going to be at tailgating at college football games, and we're going to be back out there in force is the hope, right? And so how I'll start with you, Norris. How has that, you know, changed this virtual hybrid world? How has that changed things for you and in the landscape of film and video?
Well, I mean, so I told you before I taught it. So the past 2 years, I've spent teaching TV film at a school, just 2 periods a day. And one of the things that I told the kids is, we just want to at least get you from the stuff that looks like you're at Disney. So, you know, the first piece is, you know, really just getting people to brace themselves and make themselves turn into the human tripod, you know? So, you know, if they can, I'd say, anchor your elbow, hold it here, and now you can move yourself like that. So that was the first thing I said, because no, it doesn't have to be professional, but we don't want it to look like a roller coaster, and we don't want it to look like TikTok. So that's been the experience. And we've had students with our show, Fox on Arizona Prep Spotlight. We have kids from ASU that do some of the packages for the show and some of the streaming and stuff like that. And they were clueless. They had no idea that, hey, you know what, if I just, because it was just shaky video. So I think that was the first adjustment of, you know, this virtual world. And then of course, you know, Zoom meetings being what they are, but as far as the virtual piece of it was just kind of teaching people just the basic of, hey, let's turn our body into, you know, let's make it as close as to professional video as we could. That was the first step for me.
Excellent. So have you seen, I mean, listen, we haven't been out. But were you struggling to get content, or people still have to raise money during this time? So did you see, Michael and Rafer, that, you know, a real downpull during this time, or was business consistent and still people had the need, and, you know, you're still busy?
people were being creative. And think about just fundraising events. They went from being in person to virtual. One of the nonprofits where I sit on the board of directors of, we had a virtual event. And we were one of the first in the greater Philadelphia area that created an entire video experience, all pre-recorded. And we watched that on a weekend morning, and we raised just as much money than had we had an in-person event. Now, the cost of doing that was also a fraction. I mean, think about renting a local place, and our typical rental and the gross cost would have been, close to $100,000 to $150,000 for just putting on the event. To create this video cost less than half of that. I think the number was around $45,000, and this organization raised close to $750,000, all through video, all through this digital mechanism that we're in right now, this box that we're all contained with. So people got very, very creative using video rather than in person during this experience. And some of my commercial clients, the corporate clients, they were able to achieve even more, leveraging video instead of sending their remote sales team to the far corners of the globe. They were more productive by teaching people new skills using Zoom or WebEx or Teams or Hangouts, whatever mechanism that they needed. They were able to communicate more meaningfully in a way using video than ever before. And the last piece I want to talk about is leveraging the content that's created in video. And as Rafer wisely said, it's only one piece of an overall communications and marketing strategy. If you have a 30-minute video, you can slice that into multiple pieces of content, white papers, social media posts, good old-fashioned ads that go into a newspaper, press releases. And people oftentimes don't think about harnessing the power of the video for multiple media that can come from it.
Go ahead, someone add.
Yeah, that's really a good point, Michael. I'm a big believer in the drip campaign, and instead of doing the one and done, be consistent, follow the Gary Vaynerchuk model of constantly putting that video out there. From our clients, and I'm only speaking for my business model, from one half day of shooting, we're going to get them a month's worth of material. And we're going to talk about 8 different key messages that we're going to be able to divvy out over through a social media editorial strategy. But they can do it on their own with their own cell phones. They can. And nobody's going to watch a 30-minute video, as I'm sure, we don't need to tell. But yeah, so I completely agree with that. I ended up doing a virtual fundraiser as well, Howard, and yeah, they paid us a fraction of what they ended up making, at that time. And so what we had to do to get more creative is normally when you profile certain families. So we just did little news packages on families that were directly affected by this charity in a positive way as the messaging. And so produced it as like a half-hour show, if you will, with live elements in it. But I am finding, we ended up buying a specific lens that allowed us to social distance 6 feet away. We had the boom mic where we did that and stood far away from people. But now I'm seeing people I don't know, maybe you're seeing that as well, Michael, but people are now starting to warm up more to the in-person. But you can do a lot via Zoom. And I've done a lot of videos for clients, and I'll get testimonials from their customers via Zoom, and it seems to work just fine because the message is what's so important rather than the production value.
No, I think that's really important, getting creative. I have to share with you that my wife's birthday this year was in April, and we did something. It was formerly called vidhug.com. It's now called Momento. And we had, 30 family members actually do a video clip, and we the system montaged them together, $15. And she got all those birthday wishes to watch over and over again. And, we did the Zoom too, and everyone's getting a little Zoom fatigue, but Zoom's changed the playing field, and WebEx and Teams have all really changed the playing field on, collaboration and communications. Let's talk about using certain digital platforms. Where do you guys stand on, having a YouTube channel? I kind of got a little souring when someone mentioned TikTok. Is there a place for it? Facebook certainly is loaded with video. even now, you're getting lots of video on LinkedIn. And so I don't know who wants to start there, but where do you feel about some of these platforms as using them as the vehicle to communicate? Alyssa, you want to start first? Great.
I was just as sour as you when I first learned about the TikTok. I was not on board, but I have to tell you that Sportskind, Humankind, the franchise I work for, we have 3 million followers on TikTok that grew almost overnight. We have an amazing producer who's in charge of TikTok. That's his platform he's in charge of, and he's found it to be an amazing communicator to a new audience. At least for us, all we do is talk about, like I said, positive videos. All of our video content is surrounded by moments, and that is perfect to be shared on a platform like TikTok, where it is just short moments, and all you are in charge of is posting 30 seconds and hoping that people like it. And not only is it engaging with a new audience, but it's brand awareness. People are following us to YouTube, to our OTT platforms, to Instagram, and then Facebook, which is still our biggest money maker to this day for content. So I would say that you should dabble in all of them if you can, because you never know which one is going to be the most successful and make the most sense for your brand.
Well, I agree with you only to a point of, I think Michael and everyone's agreed, know your audience, right? Know the demographic as well. But I agree. So if you have 3 million people on TikTok, that's amazing. And you do have people there that are looking for and hungry for sharing content and receiving content. So what about YouTube? That's one of the mainstays there. It's certainly you having a YouTube channel. Is that something viable you recommend to your customers, Michael?
It depends who the customer is, and depends what they want to do. From just a pure marketing perspective, if you put out the right content on YouTube, let's just call it the video content. That's only a small portion of it. You need to describe that video. You need to have the about the video in the description, because one of the wonderful things about that is Google's still the #1 search engine in the world. If people are looking for a particular topic or interest, or it gets fed into the what to watch next, YouTube is an exceptional channel to make that happen. And there are different ways to leverage YouTube for the benefit of one's clients, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's an organization, whether it's a corporate client. Heck, I spent 35 minutes on YouTube the other night trying to figure out how to fix my lawnmower. And as a result of doing that, I went to my local Advanced Auto Parts and bought some Seafoam cleaner to clean out a carburetor, and my lawnmower is working again. Had they not put that video out, I would have never heard about it, and I have a broken lawnmower right now. But yes, so YouTube is an absolutely viable strategy. And there are many other platforms out there.
YouTube video on how to fold a fitted sheet, and I'm still struggling, but a bow tie, I'm not to do that. So I'm with you on that. So Rafer, where are you at with advising your clients as to in their strategies as far as that? Is there different, obviously it's by budget, but you're saying for a low budget you can do a lot, and so what's the mix of types of strategies for video and other things that you're doing for your client? Is it straight video? That's what you recommend to gather engagement, to gather donations, to gather membership or viewing?
Well, and as Michael said, it depends on the audience. So first of all, my take on social media is eventually they're going to drop the word social, and it's just going to be the media. Traditional media is dying. It is. Local news is dying. And so kids, if you want to grow up and be a news anchor, change careers now, because that job's not going to be there. I'm telling you. And I'm not taking any joy in saying that. But like Michael said, so YouTube is like the public library. It's the how-to. It's where people go to learn stuff. LinkedIn is where they go to, connect professionally. Facebook's where they go to get escape. TikTok's they go for entertainment. So knowing your platform and what you want to do with it. For a very modest ad spend, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, and YouTube ads, you can bring a lot of eyeballs to that content. but I would rather you spend more money on the content and getting that right and less on the marketing than the other way around. If you do a crappy piece of material and then you blow that up, you might as well not be sending anything out. But back to your original point, Howard, it doesn't have to be super polished like what Alyssa was talking about. Those videos, they're raw, they're real. Everybody's a reporter now. And yeah, I mean, I just say, put it on everything and see where, that's how you find your target audience also. And the other beautiful thing about social media, as opposed to if you're trying for PR in the traditional media does your story, they put it on the air. There's no ROI, there's no analytics. You don't know how many people watched it. You know the rating share, but it could be 8 years old to 80 years old. You put it on social media, now you can get those analytics and that data. How long did they watch? When did they drop off? How long did we hold their, okay, so you know what? We didn't hold their attention past 30 seconds. Let's make the next thing we do only 30 seconds. And so that way you can refine the message. So listen to the data, listen to your audience, listen to the reaction from people to really facilitate that dialogue. And I'm a big believer is throwing that spaghetti all over the wall and seeing, what sticks, because you're going to attract different people. But YouTube videos can be that channel. There's no downside to having a YouTube channel. There's nothing that's going to go, oh, that's going to hurt my business. If you do it right, that becomes a revenue stream for you as well. So I highly encourage it.
And then I think with Facebook, the thing that I've been trying to play around with is the sponsored ad, because I mean, even something like this, if I take a picture and I post this on Facebook, it may not get as many hits as if it were a picture of my grandson. But I've been trying to figure out, the advantages of, and I know that there's an advantage, and you basically have to decide how much money you want to spend doing a sponsored ad via Facebook. That'll get, that can get you a little bit more traction. And I'm also a motivational speaker, so this is my brand behind me, but I've decided that not only is it my speaker brand, it's just my brand. So I've gone from, a speaker brand to just, I do media with this backdrop, I do everything with this backdrop. And so anything that you're producing, what's going to be the best bang for your buck when you get into, the social media platform? Instagram has been phenomenal. Someone told me to do TikTok. My teenager did, but not yet.
Well, it just depends. But I will tell you, there's something to be said. When something's done professionally well, I have to tell you, watching the basketball game last night, the ASPCA for dogs and $19 a month, I was about ready to cry and hit the button to donate my $19 a month. It was very well done. It's strung to the heart. It has a good message, and I think that there's still a place certainly for that if you can afford that. I mean, listen, that's not inexpensive to put to put a commercial on TNT at prime time. So. The next question I kind of want to transition to is where are things going? So, we're coming out of this pandemic, and how do you see things going from your perspective? What are some of the high points you think that are about to come, and where are some of the things that we want to avoid and pitfalls that we can learn from? Alyssa, you want to start there? What a little bit of the short-term future plays out for us in film and video?
Sure. For us, like I talked about, it's about TikTok, it's about Snapchat. We are really experimenting with the newer platforms out there, and not only how we can create the most engaging content and have it overperform in views and likes and things like that, but also how we can make the most money. Snapchat has been a huge revenue maker for us, and we're really proud of the work we've done there. So for us, at the Sportskind brand, that is where we're pivoting to after everything we've been through in the past year. We've really seen an uptick in the mobile platforms like TikTok and Snapchat.
And are those revenue models, is it ads that you're actually monetizing? Where is the revenue coming from?
It's ads and sponsorships. We have been really fortunate to have sponsored content partnerships with big companies who believe in our positive storytelling. A lot of our stories align with their positive, the messages they want to put out. So it's been really good for us actually this past year, and especially now that sports is coming back and people are going to games, hopefully, and things like that. We're really excited to see the more possibilities and opportunities there are for even more content and even more experimenting on those newer platforms.
So the sponsors would definitely looking at 3 million, eyeballs potential
Exactly.
to click the buy button or click the view button on what they're offering and all that. So
exactly, it's really exciting.
Good.
It's
good.
also exciting because, they want to associate their brand with something positive.
Right.
So, and it's so funny. I mean, I worked in traditional media for 20 years, and Alyssa, you guys talking about positive news stories. I mean, these were the things that I'd be pitching to my news directors ad nauseum, and they always say, no, we're going to go cover the shooting on the south side of Chicago. And, but now what you're talking about, the fact that it's catching fire, people are hungry for that positive. People want to be inspired. People want to be, uplifted, especially after what we just came out of. So kudos to you and your company, for doing that, because that also does create a great brand alignment for another, corporation. Like, yeah, we're going to, we want to be associated with this. They don't want to be associated with the news organization that's dead bodies under sheets all the time and 24/7. That's why the revenue's drying up over there. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. I'm happy to hear about that.
Sportskind is, we're really fortunate because of our positive message. We've gotten a lot of support from professional leagues who want to share what their athletes are up to. And they want to get the eyeballs on the good things that their players, coaches, everything involved with their teams and organizations do. So we've been really fortunate to have support from the NFL, MLB, IndyCar, things like that, to help boost our brand and also theirs. And so, especially now that people are going back to sporting events, we're just really excited to see what the future holds. And I think it's on Snapchat and TikTok, unfortunately, guys.
I wouldn't say unfortunately. Just to slipstream with what Alyssa and Rafer were saying, and to your question, Howard, moving out of this, people are more comfortable with more different types of video than ever before, having lived through this. I think about my teenagers, 14 and 17. I think they spend more time getting video here on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Instagram. Don't even mention Facebook to them because that's for old fogies like me. But then you look at the other end of the spectrum. At this time, or even a couple months ago, a year ago, my parents, grandparents, they had no idea how to Zoom. Now they're experts at it.
Right.
They're watching their kids' sporting events that are being live streamed via phone like this, and they're getting those little snippets that Alyssa's Sportskind is broadcasting around the world. So as we move from this, we call it transition environment we're in, to one where we're all back in person, hopefully sooner than later, I think we're still going to have that mix of creating meaningful in-person experiences and digital experiences through captured or live stream video in order to best fit the right audience. And those that are creating those experiences should be prepared to make that happen.
I think that's you're spot on. That my parents, 78 and 75, are using an iPad and they're binging on Netflix and Hulu like crazy. They've also gained about 15 pounds either, but they're coming through it. So can't wait to see mom and dad soon. I agree. I want to transition a little bit and give you a couple of examples and have you guys think about how we do this for good messaging. And I do a lot of advocacy work in the cancer world, the colorectal cancer world, and two examples. Really hit it for me. And one is an athlete, Trey Mancini, was off last year in the baseball season during COVID. He actually has stage 3 colon cancer. He's now back playing. And we had him do video testimonials to give inspiration to other colorectal cancer patients fighting the good fight. And the second example I'll use is that the Black Panther, okay, unfortunately Chadwick Boseman died, diagnosed in 1939 and died at 43 of colon cancer. His messaging, I will tell you, now, okay, is leading to more minorities getting checked for colon cancer screening. And so video for good can really have people call to action. And I'd like you to comment, I'm not sure who wants to go first, but comment where you see that as other examples and how we can actually do more of that. Who would like to take that on first?
Well, I kind of going back to what we were saying before, but it ties into this. People are craving engagement. Like I miss you. They miss, we miss each other. And so I don't, when you mention your grandparents and this and that, for most people our age, other than Alyssa, I don't know how you guys are, but this is some Star Trek Jetson stuff going on right now. So it finally has happened. The stuff that we thought was so cool way back whenever. So, we've got this new medium that is, that's at the forefront, and there's kind of an unknown piece to it. But as long as it's, like we've talked about before, a positive story, and it's something good, and it's precise information. It doesn't, as long as it's packaged the right way, people, they just want to touch. They want to feel something, even if it's on the other side of a screen. They just want to feel and have that engagement. I remember what a year ago was like going to the grocery store and you had to wait in line, So, and then when you went in there was nothing. So now it's, now we're kind of coming out of it, and you can wear a mask and you don't have to wear a mask. But, even a story like that, what about the people that are vaccinated or not? We don't know who, whatever. But if you tell a story about that, people can relate to that. People just want engagement, and they want to be able to relate.
I will say, another example that Sportskind recently did was a story on a former Falcons player, Ito Smith. He recently learned how to swim as an adult. And it was a message of never be afraid to do something, even though it may be a little embarrassing because I don't know how to swim and I'm a full grown man. And it was partnered with the Children's Hospital of Atlanta. And they're the ones who approached me with that story. And it was video of Ito in the pool, learning how to swim with little kids and not being embarrassed or shy about it, and trying to be a positive role model to these little kids and to anyone watching, really, that it's never too late to do something that you've always wanted to do. And it was an amazing partnership with the Children's Hospital here in Atlanta. It was an event they put on. So it was just a really mutually beneficial relationship that we were able to put out a visually appealing video that went on USA Today's platforms, Sportskind's platforms, and it was a positive story about Ito, but it was also great brand awareness for CHOA, Children's Hospital of Atlanta, and what they wanted to do. So anyone watching, anyone here, if you have a advocacy event or any kind of message you want to put out, if there's good video like we had of Ito swimming with little kids, that's a winner. That will do well on any platform. So if there's a moment on video, as we like to say, I think you can tell any story you want.
I love that, Alyssa. I really do. And
great example.
And what you bring up is something I believe, at least I'm seeing more, is that people having come through this crazy time, there's more authenticity. People are dropping their ego. People are believing in their calling. People want to make a difference. And we saw that across the major channels. I mean, John Krasinski did that wonderful video series in the beginning of, I totally forget what it was called, but I see you guys nodding.
Some Good News.
Yes, he did Some Good News, and it was just him in his house. Random stuff was happening. He didn't have makeup on, and it just showed him as who he truly is and other good things that are happening. You saw it with a number of the other late night hosts where they were doing as good as they can, but it didn't have all the pomp and circumstance and egos that go into it. I think that the stories now that they're really going to carry are people being honest and open, showing them who they truly are without anything in front of them. And you're starting to see that more within some of the professional sports athletes. At least that's what I'm seeing. And my son's showing me all sorts of cool videos that he's seeing on TikTok and Snapchat about athletes just having conversations and showing what they're doing. And it's not produced, it's not Photoshop, it's just people being people to do and bring more good into the world. So I love that your platform and your network's doing that, Alyssa.
Yeah, authenticity is the pathway to success, plain and simple. And as long as your brand messaging is clear, the production value is secondary to that. And you bring up Alyssa about athletes being afraid to do that. 5 years ago, no athlete would ever allow them. So I shouldn't say no athlete, but a few athletes would not allow themselves to be that vulnerable, to show their vulnerability and their weakness. Mostly because there's also an inherent mistrust of the media amongst athletes, because the traditional media has a tendency to sensationalize. So you have to earn that trust for them to get them to let their guard down. But what Michael said, it is now moving more into that realm of just what you see is what you get. And I think that, as long as your brand script is and your messaging is consistent. And, the other thing I would say before I turn it back to you, Howard, is that, look, everybody needs to learn to be a videographer now. If you are a wannabe on-camera talent, you're still, when you start out into the business of production, you're going to have to shoot, edit, write all your own stuff. You're going to have to do your own interviews. You will be a one-person band. So don't poo-poo that. You learn the tools of the trade. And yes, you guys are right. The phone, we can do a lot with this, but learn Adobe Premiere editing software, because that's what all the pros use. That's what we used at my, I taught myself on YouTube how to do Adobe Premiere. You need to learn those basics and the basic concepts of video, not just rely on the apps. It's good to have that extra knowledge. So, because look, if you get something really authentic and good, but you can throw a little polish in it, it's just human nature. You're going to look at it. And the last thing I'll say is Saturday Night Live was another perfect example of what you, Alyssa, and Michael were talking about. They segued into a virtual, SNL at home, and we still watched it. We still watched it because their brand is so solid. We're going to them to watch something to make us laugh. Well, this is the best we can do under the circumstances, us at home. And we were like, fine, because we're doing the same thing right now. So I just wanted to echo those points.
Hey, listen, we watched the NFL draft, and some of them had draft rooms with masks on, but some of them were in their homes and they were connected up, and you saw their homes and you saw their pet dog, Bill Belichick's dog, sitting on a chair. It's real. As you said, it's authentic and it's real. And whether, the dog got a lot of views and a lot of tweets, all good. But I guess one of the only other things you're looking at is there is some boundaries to privacy. Do we want to know everything about Tom Brady and Giselle? I don't know. But some people do. He's building a brand, right? He's building an image and a brand, and he is a public persona, and he's won a lot of Super Bowls. And there are boundaries to that. I will say that there is the shock value. Back to Rafer, what you did, with the blood and guts, lead and end with the newscast. We've gotten real video of emergencies and fires and George Floyd and condos falling down and stuff like that. So, this is a very powerful weapon, the phone and the video that's contained to it. So I said, like anything else, it can be used, in a good way, and it can be used also for malicious intent, which is never the intention, but it happens. So we're coming to wrapping up soon. So I want you to be thinking of a final statements to the group, and you can talk whatever about you want to, but where you think things are going, and how we can actually continue to get more things going, and tell me what you want to finally say. And we'll start with you, Norris. Put you on the spot there to say what are some parting comments that you want to leave the group.
I think the fine line, especially if you've been formally educated, is what is freedom of speech, and then what is journalistic privilege. Mm-hmm. The fine line of free speech and journalistic privilege, because us, if we're formally trained and we're hired professionals, we have a journalistic responsibility about how we're supposed to do things. So we're probably not going to shoot something like the average person. However, And so we're held accountable to that. I have a media pass, I have a media badge. So when I have that badge on, I'm held to a standard. The average Joe, all they're going to say is, hey, don't mess with my freedom of speech. I'm free to do this. So I don't know if that's a parting statement, but it's a question to raise as we move forward to what you were saying before. This is the real world that we live in right here. So
who owns that content, Norris? Do you own that content when you have that media pass, or is it for the company you're working for? Or if you're just a fan in the stand, do you own that content?
Well, I don't know if I'm there on if I'm there on an assignment. We're either streaming a game now, because our show is actually furloughed now. So it's either going to be streamed or it goes to School Space Media. And if it's the show content, Fox Sports Arizona owns it. So, but we're also getting people, we're still taking people's, hey, if you see a highlight or whatever, text us to that at prepspotlight.tv. So now that's my question. That's kind of that fine line. Is it theirs because it's free speech, or are they going to be held to a standard of journalistic privilege and responsibility?
Well, I think it's important because the lines are really blurred, because, I see, Facebook posts using Budweiser and Homer Simpson, and, no one's getting permission. They're just flying it around out there. Alyssa, when someone uploads to TikTok or Snapchat for Facebook for you guys, do you own that content when you click the rights and they do that now when they submit that in?
Yes, we have a really thorough legal process that we have to go through whenever we get video from people. We have written out questions, yes or no questions, that we send to every single person that sends us video. And we have partnerships with those UGC companies like Jukin and Storyful and things like that. And then as far as video we get from the leagues, we have a written agreement with them stating that we are able to put this video on XYZ platform. So yes, we own every piece of content that we put out. We also, because we don't just put it out raw, we add our own editorial changes to it with music, text on screen. We have a team of editors who really make it our own and fit our brand. So everything we put out has a little bit of a Sportskind touch to it, and it's 100% ours.
I appreciate you making that clarification, because I know if someone like, I play basketball, and if someone has an incredible move or something happened controversial in the game, immediately over text, we're getting, some type of video and all that. No one's getting approved for that. So I appreciate you pointing that out for, digital rights management. But it's gray. It's not so black and white. With you have policy and all that, but it's very interesting. Michael or Rafer, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I can go, but first I want to thank you, Howard, for leading a really great conversation. And I'm grateful that, we're all here and learned a lot from you, Alyssa, Rafer, and Norris. And Audra, thanks for being the admin behind the scenes, making this all possible. And when you think about Sports Philanthropy Network, their goal is to change our communities through the better through sports. So whether it's a professional organization or a nonprofit organization, recognize your passion, your purpose, and the platforms on which you reside. And then try video. If you haven't done it before, use what Rafer said. Just get started doing something. There's not a big entry point anymore. We talked about the high-end equipment that's done in professional studios down to the devices we have in our pockets. Video can change the world, and through sports and the combination of video, we can make the world a much better place. So just get started, use it, and take advantage of this medium to change the world for the organizations that you care about, and do it through sports.
Really nice.
And Michael, you're absolutely right. I mean, you brought up George Floyd. As I'm sitting here poo-pooing my former industry about media, if somebody hadn't taken that video of George Floyd and Eric Garner, we wouldn't be having the discussions we're having today about police reform and diversion and equality. So thank God for those on the street journalists. Everybody's a reporter now, and this does give you that ability to do it. But it still does need to be, so if you're at a media outlet, if you want to use that video that somebody shot, the person who shot that video owns that video. The storming of the Capitol, again, people on the ground, I call them, on the street journalists, getting those videos that came in after the fact, 2-3 days on CNN. It's very vital and it's very important. The reason I like sports is because it is like a form of mythology. You know, we can all get caught up in that journey towards excellence, which is why I like what the Sports Philanthropy Network did. I have the utmost respect for people like Norris who, you know, busted your ass. I mean, just your story of getting into the league as a professional is an inspiring story that even if you don't care about sports, you should be able to derive some kind of inspiration from that, because it's a story of personal excellence and achievement that you and your fellow athletes have done. And you know, the last thing I'll say is, you know, just keep doing it, putting out the content, follow the Gary Vaynerchuk model. It doesn't have to be perfect. Look, don't do something bad or horrible that's going to tarnish your brand. But, you know, the days of the personal brand and the business brand being separate are over now. It's one and the same. Your personal brand is your business brand. So use video to build your brand, whether that's you as a journalist, whether that's you as an influencer, whatever the case may be. And be nimble and be agile and be willing to listen and pivot into whatever direction it takes you to. You know, humility and empathy is what every storyteller needs: humility and empathy, and so does every leader. And be teachable, right? We have to be teachable because the technology is constantly changing. You know, what I'm doing right now, my job might be obsolete in 5 years, and it's so rapid. It's so what's happening right now. And but you know, if you're actively involved and you're doing it from the heart, good things will come out of it. So that's my commencement speech for the day.
Really appreciate it. I have to tell you, great session from great people. I would recommend that they all link in with you to ask further questions, continue the conversation, get some career advice, because this is how the world works and we all pay it forward. My next session is on mentoring, and that also makes the world go round. So I invite you to that if you want to. I want to thank you all. You gave your time today to be able to share your industry expertise and your knowledge. Excited to get to know you. I'm grateful for your time and the Sports Philanthropy Network for putting us all together. And future recordings, you'll get the link to be able to share this and review it. And I just want to thank you as well. And have a great time. Stay safe out there. And we'll take a break, and we're going to see you at the final sessions before we wrap up the whole 2 days. So thank you again.